Okay guys, today we're going to show a common attack where my assailant is going to grab my neck with a one hand choke. And this is a common attack. And the first thing I'm going to do here when this person grabs my neck, as soon as I'm touched, I'm going to go into a base position. And again, the base is the knees bent, solid on the ground here. My feet solid on the ground. My knees bent. I'm not going to be down too far, but my knees are not going to be locked. If my knees are locked up straight, he's able to push me easily, but he's able to push me back easily and move me to wherever he wants to. He's going to have a harder time here when I drop to a base. I'm in base. Every time someone's touching me, I go to base, an unwanted touch. My hands will come up here. My hands are here. Not only can I defend myself from a punch, overhand punch here, my hands are up in a ready position. I could even say, please don't hurt me here. My hands up. From this position here, I'm going to lock the wrist using my fingers, not my hands, with this movement of my fingers. My fingers lock the wrist, the weakest part of the arm. I don't want to grab the forearm, the bicep, because here he has strength. He's able to defend this. He's able to push away, pull away. Once I grab the wrist here, it's non-threatening to him, I'm going to grab the wrist and take a big step inside. I'm going to pull the arm at the same time as I step to this position. My elbow locks his elbow against my body, where he's got a lot of pressure here. I'm still holding the wrist, and I turn the wrist with the thumb pointing upward. By pointing the thumb upward, it puts pressure on the elbow and the joint. At the same time, I'm squeezing my elbow against his elbow, turning the thumb up. I'm going to sit as if I'm on a couch, looking up, my back straight. Sit and lift the arm. That will break the arm. Again. My attacker grabs my neck. I drop to a solid base. My hands up. I don't want my elbows out, guys. My hands are here. In a defensive position, I could block a punch, which is a common attack. He grabs my throat, punches me in the face. From here, I lock with the fingers on his wrist. I take a big step inside. One big step locking the elbow. My back is straight. My knees are bent. I sit as if I'm on a couch, turning the wrist upward, where the thumb is pointing upward, creating a lot of pressure on the joint. I sit and lift. Okay guys, in this attack, my assailant's going to reach forward and grab my hair. A common attack on the street, where you're dragged, you're punched, you're kicked from here. It's very hard to get out of. If I pull away from this position, I'm going to lose my hair, and it's going to create a lot of pain for me, and I might not be able to get out of it. When he grabs my hair here, I'm not going to fight the hand on my head. I'm going to drop to my base position. Immediately as he grabs me, with my two fingers, my two index fingers, I'm going to lock the wrist, his wrist, not grab the arm. Again, we don't want to grab the arm and fight his muscle here. I lock the wrist, I take a big step inside, locking his elbow down with my elbow. I squeeze the elbow. As you can see, my knees are bent very deep. My back is straight. I turn his wrist, creating the thumb to be pointing upward. That puts a lot of pressure on the joint. I sit as if I'm on a couch and lift his arm, torquing the arm upward, breaking the arm. All right, in this position, I'm against the wall. This bully, this assailant, attacker, he's going to pin me against the wall with one hand on my throat, putting me in a very bad position. This concrete wall is very dangerous for me here, because in this position, he could reach over with the left hand and strike me in the face, smashing not only my face, but smashing the back of my head against this concrete wall. In this position, guys, once he holds my neck, putting a lot of pressure against the wall, I'm going to use this wall to my advantage. The first thing I'm going to do, guys, of course, always, I'm going to go to a base position, bending my knees. I'm in base. My hands come up to a ready position here. If he does throw that overhand strike, I could block it. I'm not going to get my face smashed and the back of my head crushed. Once he's putting pressure at my head against the wall here, I'm in base, my hands are up in a ready position. I'm going to use this finger technique that I showed in a previous move to pop his wrist off of my neck. I don't try to push his arm. I don't try to hit the bicep or the forearm here. I attack the weakest part, which is the wrist. It's not a push, but a pop. I pop the wrist, as so, creating my elbow is lined up with his jawbone. I'm going to use my elbow to strike his face in his jawbone with the momentum that he brought to me. In other words, I'm using his energy against him. Again, he grabs my neck, putting pressure against me. He's using the wall, or he thinks he's using the wall to his advantage. I drop to a base position, my hands in a ready position. If he decides to punch me, I could defend the punch, come back, I pop the wrist, and use an elbow strike to his jaw. This strike, guys, the hardest part of my arm is the elbow, which will cause a lot of damage, a lot of trauma to his jaw. Now, in a fight, anything can happen. So now he's grabbing my neck here. And if he's pushing really, really hard against me, that means all his energy is coming towards me. And what we call in Jiu-Jitsu, or the invisible Jiu-Jitsu, we're using his energy against him without using strength, without using force. In this position, again, I'm in base, the same thing. I'm going to pop the wrist. But at this time, when he's pushing really hard, I pop the wrist, he falls forward. Now look, I can't strike his head anymore. From here, I'm going to come around, grabbing his neck in what we call a guillotine. My hand is in this position here. I cup my hand with my other hand, locking him in the guillotine. What I'm going to do in this position, I'm going to use the wall to my advantage. I don't want to go away from the wall, but I want to use the wall. I squeeze his neck hard, lifting him. At the same time, I'm going to slide my back against the wall. Sliding my back against the wall, I bring him to the wall. I'm using the wall against him, squeezing his neck, choking him unconscious. Okay, and again, my attacker, my assailant, this bully, I showed before a one-handed choke. Now he decides to do a two-handed choke on me, grabbing my neck with both hands, pushing me against this wall. From here, he's able to use the wall to his advantage. He's a big, strong guy. I can't push against him. His leverage is all his weight's pushing against me. In this position here, I'm going to have to react. I'm not going to use strength on strength here, because chances are I'm going to get hurt leaning against this wall. He could push my head many times against the wall. He could try to knee me here, headbutt me. Once he grabs my neck with both hands, again, guys, I'm going to drop to a base position, bending my knees. solidifying myself here in base. It's always a base. I'm going to cup both shoulders, like as so. My thumbs on top of his shoulders, deltoids, gripping him here on his shoulder blade, on his shoulders. It's not a threatening move for him. He doesn't feel any pain compliance here. I'm just holding him. It's almost as if I'm defenseless. In my base position, I'm going to use this wall to my advantage. I'm going to slide my body as much as I can against this wall, creating a leverage, moving him without using strength. I'm going to slide against the wall, bringing him to the wall. As you can see here, he's still holding my neck with a lot of force. You can see my right leg back. I'm really in a distance where knees aren't going to be powerful here. And it's even going to throw me off my base where he can push me backwards. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to extend this leg and I'm going to do a groin kick here. This groin kick, believe me, will finish this fight. So I'm here, kick to the groin, fight's over. Hey guys, the first move I showed today was a one-hand choke where my assailant grabs my neck with one hand. He left his other hand free, enabling him to punch me in the face, slap me, or just grab me with the other arm. I dropped to a base position, always in base. In Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu self-defense, we're always in a good base. It's one thing we always have to emphasize. In a base, I locked his wrist. I stepped inside, securing his arm, taking his whole arm from him, locking my elbow onto his elbow, turning the wrist with his thumb pointed up. I sat down as if I was sitting on a chair or a couch, lifting his arm in the opposite direction, snapping his arm. That's a common attack. You'll see that a lot on the street, and it's very easy to defend with the correct technique and repetitions, of course. I showed a variation of the position which works really well with women, because women typically have longer hair, where your attacker would grab your hair, and that's a very difficult position to escape from. I use the same defense. Base, I lock the wrist, step inside, attacking the joint, attacking the elbow, snapping the arm in that position will definitely finish the fight. So we always want to be aware of where someone grabs us. It also works if you're grabbing the lapel, the throat, the hair, etc. The same position works. The second move I showed, the next thing I showed was a double choke, a one-handed choke against the wall. And that's a perfect position for a bully to attack you, is by using a wall of any kind, because he's able to, especially a bigger, stronger guy or girl, is able to hold you against the wall with one hand, leaving maybe their strong hand free to punch you in the face. Same concept, I used the base. I got into my base. Even though I was against the wall, I couldn't be pushed backward, but it solidified my body in that position. I put my hands up in a ready position in case that person threw a punch at me. Not only would it damage my face, but it would also hurt the back of my head, because my head would hit the back of a concrete wall. I cleared the wrist from my neck, because my assailant was so committed to pushing me against the wall. I popped the wrist, just using leverage, nothing with strength. I hit the weakest part of his wrist using these two fingers. It opened him up to a vicious elbow strike to the jaw. My elbow was aligned with his jaw, finishing the situation there. He's not ready for that position, for that attack. Defense, I should say. I showed a position where my attacker held my neck with both hands, using a lot of strength and all his body weight. And this is typically a person that does this to you will be much larger than you, maybe even much stronger than you, and they're pushing you against a wall. And it's very hard to escape from that position, because if you try to pull away from that person, you're going to have a lot of damage to your carotids, around your neck, possibly break your trachea. and maybe even kill you. So that's a move, guys, I had to get out of very quickly, very abruptly. What I did, I dropped the base again, same concept, hands came up, I cupped the shoulders with just my thumbs, and then left my other 4 fingers around the shoulder blade area, the shoulder area. I used the wall to my advantage. And in Brazilian or Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, we use leverage. We're not using strength. We're fighting this, their energy. We're using their energy against them. I actually used the wall to my advantage.